My name is QG, and in my channel I tell you the truth about trading bots. Today's video is about the anatomy of a trading bot. So I will give you an insight on how you can build a trading bot, what the structure looks like, and the architecture and things to consider there. I will make it a bit interactive where I draw you the diagram and the stuff, starting from a really small, super simple trading bot, getting more complex and more complex on the way adding stuff and explaining why to add it and what's the benefits, in my opinion. So let's dive right in. Whenever you have a trading bot, whenever you start with a trading bot, the first thing you should have is the trading logic. I will call this the strategy, and trading strategy basically can be reduced to it receives market data. You can call it just data and create orders out of it. Need not be only market data. It could be also other data sources like sentiment analysis from Twitter, astrology, moon phases, earning reports, tidings, I don't know, news feeds, whatever. For this video, I will stick to just market data, but you can always go as complex as you want there, of course. And additionally to the market data that it has its existing positions, and from this information, it creates or it updates the existing orders, like trailing a stop, creating a stop, closing the positions, whatever. So where do we get this data from, and where do we send the orders to? You guessed it, an exchange. Nothing fancy happening here. So what we need to do is we send up some orders and we get back, well, it's a bit the other way around. First we get market data like bars, order book, and so on, and also account data, so the private stuff, my current orders, my position, and so on. We get the market data down, we get the account data down. Every time something changes, a tick happens, an execution happens, whatever, we get the data, hopefully a real-time push infos, and we send orders back. This is basically most simple structure of a trading bot, to say we have the strategy, everything is done in there, taking care of the orders, taking care of the positions, handling the communication with the exchange, everything. Could be simple, could be this simple, but I would go a step further and extend it a bit. So next level I would add, or that I added, is some structure and framework around, and I call this the trading bot. Could be a bit misleading, but I'm used to this term now, so I use it. This basically keeps track of the open positions, also persisting them, because that's one important thing that you should keep in mind from the beginning of coding the bot, is you have to build a bot with restart in mind. It need to be able to restart and continue where it stopped or where it left off. So if you're running, you have 3 positions open, stop losses open, whatever. The server gets a problem, restarts. You have to restart it because of some setting change, whatever. You restart. It should not drop all the positions and start from fresh. But of course, know that it had positions open and keep them. All the open orders, all that stuff is usually on the exchange, so you can get that with the account data from the exchange. But your positions might not be on the exchange. On the exchange, you have your net position that you have, but it could be that your trading logic opens multiple positions at the same time. It has a long position, it has a short position, hedging the other one, or just multiple positions for some logic. Then you want to keep track of what positions are originally there, or that you wanted to have, and not only the net position on the exchange. So you want to keep track of that. Also, what the trading what also does is housekeeping and sanity checks. There are multiple things that you have to consider when you run a bot on an exchange in production. You might lose connection to the exchange. You might miss something that the exchange did, like executing an order, and you had a small drop of packages or packets, and you miss that execution. So you think the order is not executed, but it is actually executed. Or some other problem where you have suddenly a topic with the communication or with the sync, and something needs to be taken care of that sync. This sync and this keeping care of that, this housekeeping, making sure that the positions are there, that everything is in place, and all this stuff works together, need not be part of the trading logic, in my opinion, because the trading logic should work on the pure cleaned up market data, the cleaned up position, everything is nice, and it handles the logic of what to do in a perfect situation or in a perfect environment, and the trading bot around it takes care of providing this environment. Also, some rules that I have in place, like every position needs to have stop loss. I don't do any position without a stop loss. Just it's my business rule, and that's something the trading bot can ensure. That it says if he finds a position and there's no stop loss in place, he either asks the strategy to provide a stop loss for this position, or closes the position because he can't provide a stop loss for it. Also, with this trading bot, I would immediately introduce internal data structures, and I come to that in a minute why this is important. And that's like bars, position, so how to represent the position, how to represent orders, and so on. This is mainly, just make this so they internally can all talk about the same thing in the same way with the same data in mind. And now, since we have this now, we add here an API connector, because that's, in my opinion, one of the most important things. It's rest and real time. So we have, on the one hand, the data that gets like sending an order is usually REST stuff, and then you have some real-time connections, usually via WebSockets, that gives you market updates really real-time. As soon as something happens, you get the update that an execution happened, some order of yours changed, a new bar is done, and this is now not sent here, but the market data goes directly to the trading bot. The trading bot takes all the market data and the account data and then provides it to the strategy. This also has one additional side effect that's pretty nice, because now we have one structure around that keeps track of the bot, of the positions, housekeeping, and everything, and we have the logic separated to only execute the logic. What we can do now is add multiple logics and multiple strategies. So if you want to add a new strategy, add a new idea, one is a trend follower, the other is a breakout system, the other is a scalper, I don't know. You can easily just say, I add a new strategy, just implement the part of the strategy that's really trading logic, like if a new tick comes in, what do I do? Do I open an order? Do I update an order? Whatever. And the trading bot now can keep track of the positions. You add by naming convention to know what order was created by what strategy, what position was created by what strategy, and the trading bot now can keep track of them. And when he tells the strategy to presents new market data to the strategy and asks them if they want to create an order or update an order or anything, they only show the data from the strategy. So the strategies themselves don't have to know about the others and just work on their own data, which is pretty nice, pretty neat to do that. And also the API connector transfers into the internal data structure. So now everything is already kind of encapsulated and nicely structured. And we could already do we lost the connection to the exchange. Happens. We could already also add different exchanges just by providing different APIs connected. So you can have here Bybit, a Binance, a Bitfinex, whatever, and each of those exchanges just have their own API connector. And the internal data don't care about what's coming in or what API is connected. They have the internal data structures, the internal representations. They get the data from the API connector and they send the order out to the API connector. API connector converts it and sends it through the exchange. So now we have a pretty nice trading bot framework. I would anyway add another level to it, and you will find out a bit later why this level really makes sense. But bear with me for a second. And I would call this, or I called it live trading. Basically, what does the live trading do? It manages the connection to the API. So basically, those API connectors, or one of them, chooses one of them and make sure that it's connected, checks if it's alive and everything. And this would now triggers on tick of the bot when something changed. So to make it a bit more easier in the separation, let's move that out, put that in here so that the market data comes directly to the live trading, and the live trading itself triggers on the trading bot. This triggers a method called onTick. It's a pretty simple one, which takes the account data, the current account data and market data, so the current bars and everything. And then the trading bot doesn't have to take care about the connector. It doesn't care about the connector. It doesn't care about the outside world. The only thing this trading bot now cares about it gets called with onTick. Every time something changes from the outside, it gets a onTick with bars, the current state of the market data and the current state of the account, the positions and the open orders. Live trading outside takes care of getting this data from the connector, aggregating the bars to the level that we need, aggregating the account data, making sure that everything is there, making sure that everything lives, and so on. So this is basically this idea here. Why do we do that? Pretty simple, because something that we ignored till now is the fact that you need to backtest your system. It happens usually before you do all that, but we didn't mention it before. But we want to backtest. Backtesting now has different possibilities in this situation, how we could do that. On the one hand, we could say we make a backtesting exchange, and which simulates all the stuff because it's basically nothing else. It gets the orders from the account, sends market data, and as soon as something changes, the live trading would send stuff in. But here comes the problem. Live trading is done for live trading. You have some additional logic in there, like for example, for me, I usually have 4-hour bars or H4 bars. I don't want the bot to go crazy on every single update, but I aggregate the updates into batches every 30 seconds, unless something important happens. But even then, if something important happens, like an execution or something, live trading waits for 2 seconds or 1 second now, if no any new updates, any other update comes along, because you get the update sometimes separated, like you get the execution of an order, you get the update, so the execution information, you get the update of the order is now new, and you get the update of your position in 3 different packages. And they might have a small time distance between them. So there might be a small delay of a few milliseconds, a few hundred milliseconds. I had it up to 1 second sometimes if there's a lot of congestion in the whole network. So you don't want to have the first execution that you get in sent directly to the bot. Then the bot sees in his sanity check, oh, I have a position open, but or I see that this order is executed. I have the trading, I have my position open, but the position on the exchange is not there yet because it was not updated yet. And he starts closing the position. It happened to me before, that's why I added it. So there's a lot of managing and this triggering on tick when to do that and how to do that is some stuff that is only relevant for live trading. You don't need it in backtesting. I don't want my backtest to on purpose wait for 2 seconds just to have all the data there, because in the backtest I know that all the data is correct when I send the tick. So I wouldn't go through this whole stuff. I would need all that, but not the outside. So I added a different backtesting engine. I do it like that because basically it takes the part of the live trading, but for backtesting. So what does the backtesting do? It loads historic market data. It simulates ticks and triggers on tick, and it receives the orders from the bot and simulates the executions. This is more complex than you think. I had a lot of bugs in there and a lot of troubles with that in the recent future history, recent past. How do I say that? But it can be done. So this is basically that. That's what backtesting does. Now I can do this pretty fast, pretty sophisticated, and doesn't have to wait for anything like live trading does. But it uses the same structure. It uses the same code. It sends the stuff in internal data structure. So we're still here. That's all fine. And let's take the orders, because in the backtesting case, the orders are sent directly and not to the exchange. So the main thing what I wanted to say is the main benefit of this structure, in my opinion, is you now have one block of code or one block in the architecture that is exactly the core logic of the strategy, and how to behave around it, how to handle positions, how to deal with the strategy. And this part of the code is exactly the same for live trading and for backtesting. So you know now if the execution, the simulation is fine. If you take this spot and this logic and this code and run it and backtest it, and then run it in the live, you know that the behavior is exactly the same. There is no, yes, the strategy could behave different in the backtest because there's different code running there. I have update problems or whatever. Nothing of that. It's just as soon as you write a strategy, you put a strategy in, you can run it on backtest, and you just put that strategy also with the same code onto the server, embed it into the live trading where it sends the on tick. So the same on tick that the backtesting triggers also is triggered by the live trading, just in a different frequency. And then you execute. So that's basically that. One small script part that is not that important, but worth mentioning. You have somewhere for backtesting your historic market data. Yeah, doesn't matter for the live, but it's relevant for that. And there you have also the how to get that, and I call that my framework, I call it the history caller, which just knows the different exchanges. You can call it as a separate script. It just goes to the Exchange, gets the 1 minute bars, and saves it to the data structure to the file on the server, on the local file system. So nothing fancy here. And that's it. That's basically the anatomy of my trading bot. That's the framework, that's the architecture, that's how this whole thing is structured. I hope this cleared up some stuff. I hope this answered some questions. If it opened more questions than it answered, feel free to leave a comment. I will look through them and see if anything comes up. And beside that, happy coding and see you in the next video.